Hey, welcome to the Elle Russ Show. My name is Elle Russ, and I am a #1 best-selling author and master coach. My intention is to inspire, educate, and motivate you with weekly content featuring amazing guests and solo episodes. Visit my website, elleruss.com, to learn more about me, my courses, free masterclasses, partner discounts, and much more. Enjoy the show.
As midlife women, we should start thinking about our lives in a different way. By the time we reach our late 40s and 50s, something changes inside of us, and we start to realize that we don't need to fit into the molds that society has created for us. We should start shifting our focus to the things that really matter, such as family, friends, and our passions. As we get older, this mindset becomes more pronounced, and we should not be afraid to speak our minds and share our wisdom. We should understand that our appearance should not define us. We should be proud of our wrinkles, stretch marks, and scars, as they are part of who we are. This is our time to live life to the fullest without any restrictions or oppression. We should refuse to be held back by societal norms and expectations. It's important for every woman to embrace this mindset as soon as possible because life waits for no one. Welcome to our roundtable talk on aging and women. Today, I have two special guests with me, Dr. Amie Hornaman and Elle Russ, who are joining me to discuss this very important and often overlooked topic. So welcome, my friends.
Such a good
to be here. And for those of you that are listening and not watching, we are fully coordinated without even trying. We're all wearing our black V-necks today.
Totally.
I love it. We look good. We look good. So I just turned 47 last week, and I'm proud to say it. Let me tell you. I am not
the baby of the group.
Yes, yeah. I am the baby of the group. I know. I feel like, I need to get up there. I need to say, I'm 50. But that's a good thing to think of, right? I'm proud to say I'm 47. How old are you guys?
I'll go next, but I also want to ask you some questions about that. So I am 49 right now. I'll be turning 50 in August. And usually people they think I'm about 10 years younger. It's pretty shocking when they find out, which I'm very happy about as well. And after Amie goes, I'd love to ask you a question. Karen, but go ahead.
Okay. So I am also 49, turning 50 in February, and none of us look our age. Same as Elle. Like, I get questions about my age, and I'll flat out tell anybody who asks. I don't lie about my age at all because I like to see their expression. I like to see them go, "You're kidding." Really? No. So yeah, I wear my age with pride.
Nice.
So Karen, I know that you're going to be sort of, because there's three of us and you're going to moderate this. We're going to put this on all of our channels. So if anyone's listening to this, it's probably on one of these stations, one of our podcasts. But what I'd like to ask you first is, you are 40, just turned 47, but tell us when you started to experience, because a lot of hindsight is 20/20, and sometimes I look in hindsight back on perimenopause and realize I could have done things sooner had I known or had looked out for things. What was your first signs and symptoms? Because this is really different for everyone.
Yeah, so mine actually hit really early, as did my mom. So you can, it does tell you something what your mom went through when it comes to menopause and perimenopause symptoms, et cetera, what age she went through it. A lot of the time you'll follow in those footsteps, in her footsteps. So I started at 42. And interestingly, you guys, both of you, it was shortly after I had my thyroid crash on me, and my reverse T3 had gone up really high. I was working with you at the time, Elle, on this, and I gained all this weight from it. I had very elevated reverse T3, so I was super hypothyroid. And then I was on T3 only medication, and a high amount, and I still am. What I didn't know was that can raise sex hormone binding globulin, which is a protein that binds to primarily testosterone, then to estrogen, as well as to dihydrotestosterone. And so it was over range, and I didn't realize it at the time, but later on I did test for it and then heard that, oh, thyroid medication can do this to your hormones. And so that is why I went into feeling like I was in menopause, because I remember checking my total estradiol levels at the time and they were high, but yet I was having missed periods. I was having hot flashes, and this is at 42, and night sweats and waking. And I felt horrible. And I was like, wow, I'm really hitting this menopause early. And then later found out that that was why all of them were all my hormones were being bound up by sex hormone binding globulin. So I started to go into it really way too early.
So I would like to ask you then, cut to, what do you do now in terms of hormone replacement, and what symptoms do you still struggle and or deal with? Because the truth is, everyone listening, no matter how hard you try to biohack this shit, there's going to be some symptoms. It's going to be wonky for a while. There's going to be some stuff because you're going through this change. You can't completely nail it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, sometimes you can, but there's going to be moments. So I would just love to hear, what's your routine now? Do you still get your period, and how does that work out?
So I reversed a lot of it for many years. So I'm still headed on the way out, because no matter what you do, you're going to have ovarian failure and no longer produce these hormones. And so I was able to reverse it by lowering the SHBG and putting in estrogen and progesterone and testosterone replacement therapy. And so I've been toying around with those dosages for many years, and they've sometimes I have to go lower, sometimes I've had to go higher. Luckily I know what I'm doing, so I'm able to do this on myself and hack it as much as possible, because I know what to do. So right now I'm currently getting a regular period, but it is so light. It's gone to maybe 2-3 days of very light period, and then she's done. I have very, very little PMS. I never get sore breasts anymore. Right. I've got, the sleeping down. I've got the sex drive back up again, and we'll talk more about all of that. But hot flashes, for the most part, are taken care of. I kind of go through a period of time each month where they're pretty bad around my cycle. I can usually, if I don't drink too much coffee or eat any chocolate, they're not as bad. But that's a hard thing to resist when you're PMS
too.
Yeah, I don't drink.
Alcohol's a thing for that. I've just in my experience in speaking with women who've even done menopause naturally without any thyroid hormone replacement have said that when they get some alcohol, hot flashes come. So that could just be a mitigating factor. Everyone want to take a look at. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Alcohol, caffeine are the worst, and chocolate. So if you're suffering with those hot flashes, ladies, which are not fun, there's nothing worse than waking up and you are seriously drenched. And I'm not a sweater because I'm a thyroid patient, so I just don't sweat very well. And waking up with pools of sweat between my breasts, the sheets are soaked. It's terrible, terrible. But for the most part, I've got all my symptoms remedied, and I've got my hormones dialed in really well right now. So I've been able to now lose a lot of the weight that I had gained, and I'm feeling so much better. My energy's better. All of those things are a lot better. And I got my SHBG down. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, I just want to make a commentary
sure.
on what you just said, which is, so even though you still get your period, even though you still are your age, a lot of doctors would be so fearful of giving you any amount of estrogen. Yeah. And so this is just a point. I know everyone's shaking their heads yes here, because Karen is a perfect example of, hey, you know what? Sometimes it's an individual story. You know what I mean? And so a lot of people would be very afraid. They'd be like, no, we want to wait till you go through all the menopause, until you just don't have a period anymore before we give you estrogen, or that kind of thing. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. It's not typical, but again, glad you got on it. And it's important that you're on what you're on, because now you don't suffer as much with those hot flashes. So I just wanted to point that out.
Oh yeah. I would be in a hot mess if I didn't use estrogen. And no, it would be very hard to find doctors that will prescribe it to a cycling woman, which is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. But again, it's just one of those things. And it's again, Amie knows because of her functional experience. It's the difference between functional anti-aging medicine and that viewpoint versus the other. So anyway, I just wanted to make that so that everyone can hear that, because if you're in Karen's situation, it's not like her fault she went through it early. And again, I agreed with on the moms. Usually, I mean, I've heard from people, if the mom went through it a certain way, it's not like a life sentence. Your mom could have also been way more unhealthier than you, and you might have a better time at it, but it makes a little bit more sense given your history. So,
yeah.
And to
definitely.
Elle's point too, let me tie on this one, because you're talking estrogen, testosterone as well. I mean, you get as much pushback from conventional medicine when you're talking about giving a woman
Yes.
testosterone. Not many doctors in the conventional world even pair up that hormone with a woman, even though it is our most abundant hormone in our body. Men have more of it, but it's our most abundant. And it's so important. I actually talked to a patient today that she had the best story ever. She was getting her testosterone prescription filled, and the pharmacist said, well, your insurance company told us that they don't cover you transitioning from a woman to a man. That's what they thought the testosterone was for.
Yeah. First of all, F them on the assumption on that.
Yep.
Number one.
Yep.
Number two, my best friend is trans. You have to take a lot more than what they're going to give you. You're taking like 4 or 5. You're shooting the stuff. Like, it's a whole different story. So that is so ridiculous. That must just been the most uninformed pharmacist on planet Earth. Mm-hmm. Every compounding pharmacist where you have to go get the female testosterone, they know this stuff usually. Like, what backwards area was this pharmacy? Like,
yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Good times.
Okay, Elle, when did you start? I know I've been talking to you about this for years. We talked many years ago. I remember talking about your perimenopause experience. So
yeah, like in hindsight, I wish I would have started progesterone and testosterone at like age 42. If I could if I were to like do the math and look back and see what things were happening. So I just want to share some symptoms. It's like Amie and Karen, like when I describe in thyroid interviews about what it feels like to have heavy legs, and then people listen and they go, oh my God. And it's just something that you wouldn't see on a list, like on WebMD or, you go search the internet. So I want to share a couple of symptoms, and they might seem TMI, but you know what? I don't care, because you're going to all have, because when I mention this to people, they go, you know what? I feel, okay. So here's what I started to notice. The classic thing, which was every time from about day, ovulation through the day 28 to bleed, I would gain like 10 pounds and be bloated and a total disaster. So that was just, it was a lot of suffering. So again, in hindsight, I would have started progesterone cream earlier. I also would have started testosterone earlier, because I noticed that it was hard to retain lean muscle mass and have endurance with lifting weights. And I know Amie can absolutely speak to this. And I will say that after 3 days of taking testosterone for the first time, my chronic dry eyes disappeared. Oh, okay. Didn't even know that was a thing. I had dry eyes, but I thought maybe it's because I'm weeping at cat commercials because I need progesterone. Like, I didn't know, So my dry eyes went away, and then things got tighter. Skin. I noticed an endurance with lifting weights and ability to work out longer. I noticed the mental focus and things like that, because people can mistake that obviously for a thyroid thing. So of course, as you all know, I thought, oh, is my thyroid off? Like, do I need break? And I was like, no, guess what? It's perimenopause, mofo. It's perimenopause. So the ability to, we're all alphas on this podcast, but when you start to lose you start to get a general malaise, you start to feel like you're not motivated in life. When you are, that really sucks. And so testosterone really cleaned that up for me. So I wish I would have started those sooner. They did solve those problems, but let me tell you another symptom that I felt, and this is an odd one. Before I did any of these things, particularly testosterone, I felt like I had a uterus or something, like it was weak. Like, I joked around with my doctor that, what was that? Cardi B did that song WAP for wet ass pee. And I was like, I have a weak ass pussy. Like, I don't know what's going on. It feels like it's dropping. It feels weak, like my whole pelvic floor. And the reason I mention this is because people have gone, oh my God, I feel that too. Here's the thing. Once I took testosterone, man, I felt like I had a strong ass pussy. That thing was like strong. I felt like things were intact. I can't explain it other than the way I'm explaining it. And I'll let you guys weigh in on this. It seems like everything was, there was no sneezing and peeing, like a little dribble of pee that can happen too, which did happen to me during that time. So now all of my symptoms are gone. I still get regular periods. I don't get hot flashes, but I have had a couple, but they haven't been like horrific overtaking. They've been like, okay. And it has been near my period, Karen. And I'll in the middle of the night, I'll be like, oh, a little sweaty there, but it's not brutal. I also never drink alcohol. Like it's so rare that I drink alcohol. So that's not obviously interfering with it. And I take DHEA and pregnenolone. I found that I can't take high DHEA. I really will have bad breakouts. The testosterone won't do it, but the DHEA will.
Same.
So I take like 5 milligrams of DHEA in the morning with like 30 milligrams of pregnenolone with my thyroid hormone when I wake up. That helped me. And I'll tell you why. I was doing all the testosterone, progesterone. And then about a year ago, period came a little too soon. I started to get some breakthrough bleeding, had a little bit of a meltdown. It's a little bit of a detachment. This is the way we've been living our whole lives is by our periods. This is a weird thing. And I'm sure you guys will speak to that later. It's like a mental, emotional, where am I? I don't know where I am anymore.
Yeah, totally.
Like who am I? And so, and that's when Dr. Forsman said, you know what, now's the time to do DHA and pregnenolone. Let's see. And you know what? Just those two things got me back to like every 28 days again. Now, how long is that going to last? Of course, we're all going to fall apart here at some point. I do take, I use Source Naturals progesterone cream. I found that it's my favorite and it works best for me. I also, even though I don't take estrogen, just for the hell of it, biohacking, I got the Source Naturals bioestrogen cream. It's soy-based, as we know, with the mimic. And I just was like, I don't know what the hell. It can't hurt. It's over the counter, do little dabs. I can't say whether I've known a big difference or not, but I will say that I'm a swimmer and I used to swim with a lot of older women because they were always doing aqua aerobics. And so for years, I always asked them the personal questions about like what was like going through menopause, perimenopause. The ones that did it naturally with like herbs and acupuncture, they got through it, but they're all dried up and wrinkled. They have no sex drive and they have no vaginal wetness. Okay.
Yeah.
So I had no problems. I had a high sex drive even before testosterone. I had no issue with vaginal dryness. The testosterone increased it to like 30-year-old levels of that. And I will say made my orgasm contractions much stronger, much better.
Me too.
Awesome.
Yep.
Absolutely will never give up testosterone. And really, like when I was 35, like it really feels like I'm 30-year-old. So that's kind of the full deal. And I'm, again, I'm turning 50 in August. Who knows when the period will fully start or if hot flashes, then I'll need estrogen, but you better believe I'm going to do it. I asked a woman, I was at a Thanksgiving a couple years ago, and I was talking to this woman, and she's only, she was like 50. And she said, oh, yeah, I already went through menopause. And I said, oh, so do you take like bioidentical hormones? She said, no. And I said, do you have a sex drive? She goes, not really. And she goes, I have to shoot like vitamin E pills up there to like keep it moist or else it hurts. And I was like, what kind of life is that? Again, you guys do whatever you want with your life. Okay. But if you're out there listening, but I'm telling you, I don't know why you'd want to just give up on all of the wonderful things that make you
hormones give us.
Anyway,
I know.
Yeah. So I think I've said everything.
I get to see you in the pool with like talking to like swimming with these
80-year-old women,
that are like, so how's your vagina? It's going through menopause.
Totally. Because women are open like that. And we showered in open showers. So I went out, I'd be like, hey, what did you do? Or what do you do? And then you go someone like Mark Sisson's wife, Carrie Sisson, who wouldn't mind me saying this because she's public about it. But she's like 67. She's still on all the hormones. It's fantastic. She loves it. And she looks fantastic. I mean, just Google Carrie Sisson. And now she's 67. And, he's turning 70. He takes testosterone. I don't think he started till he was 60, according to him publicly. Like that's when he said, 60, I had to do it. He wouldn't have the ripped muscles that he has without that. And she wouldn't either. So, mental, anti-aging, sex, I care about sex. Some people don't. And if you don't, then you're going to be that girl who's like, whatever, I shoot vitamin E up there and who cares? Well, you know what I thought, though? She had a husband, and I thought, well, that's not really cool, is it? Is that fair? Or is he getting taken care of over here? Because is he just falling by the wayside? So I have one message. If you're going to let your sexuality falter, you're still in a deal with your guy or person or whatever. And maybe they need something. You have to make that an attentive thing. That's my personal opinion. Because then it's like, what, you just give up? And the deal was like, right, I don't F my friends, right? It's the difference between romantic partners that you have sex with them. And so men, tend to have that longer. And if you're going to just bail out at, I don't know, you guys know what I'm saying? You can ask me questions or touch on all of this stuff. There's the rundown.
Absolutely. Yeah. And women get so like, that's one of the biggest things I hear from my clients is that they're super upset that they don't have a sex drive anymore, and their partner, is typically understanding and is trying to help them and work through it with them. And, one lady was like, I haven't had sex for 2 years because I was actually torn last time we had sex. And I'm like, no, you do not have to put up with this. Like, no. The Menopause Society has actually come out with a new statement saying that there is no cap on how long you can be on hormone replacement therapy for, which means that, that used to be this like, do it for 10 years. That's your safe window. They have taken that off now. And because that's on old HRT, and when you're swallowing estrogen, and then it can increase heart attack and stroke. But now they're saying there is no cap. You can take it safely for as long as you want. So that's
I'm dying.
I just want to say one more thing before Amie goes. Just one more thing before Amie goes. I've asked and talked to different people who do the pellet delivery system versus, testosterone cream or compounded pill. So let me just say what I've heard. According to Dr. Forsman, who again, he's been my doctor for a while, in his practice for about 30 years, even though some of my friends my age take compounded progesterone, he seems to think from his experience, he's like, you know what? I found that the actual compounded pill of progesterone sometimes works better when people have already crossed over a little bit more into menopause. So that's just one thought. But I do have friends my age who take compounded progesterone, and they're fine. The other thing is, the pellet stuff. I've heard mixed reviews on this. I've heard people be like, don't freaking do it. It's awful. It's too risky. It does this. It does that. It shoots this out too much. It depletes, and then it's awful. So I've heard a lot of that from women. And then I know women that are like, I love it. Now I know that's more experimental. In my view, I'm not sure I would ever do that delivery at this point from what I've heard about it from people. So I just don't. Anyway, that's it. Now I'm done. Let's get to
on the pellets. I mean, honestly, just kind of springboarding off of that, I can honestly say of all the women who I've worked with, and I know Karen can expand on this, maybe 1 out of, 50 to 100 will say, oh my God, the pellets, they're so awesome. Most of the time they will say, yeah, I lost my hair and then I didn't feel good. I said, yeah, because that pellet shot you super sky high, and it's usually testosterone based. Shot you super sky high. You had a dude level of testosterone, and then you dropped down the other side and plummeted, waiting for your next pellet. It doesn't even make sense, because once that is in, it's in. Like with any other delivery method, we can adjust the dose. Even if it's cream that's barely working, we can go up in the cream and try to make it work, or we can change you to an injectable. But once that pellet's in, you're riding that wave, and you're losing your hair, and you're dealing with the acne, and you're dealing with the crash on the other side. I rarely see someone that is like, oh my God, a pellet. And listen, if it works for you, keep doing it. That's cool. Right. But if it's not working for you, or if you're just starting out, I wouldn't dive right into pellets.
No, because once they're in, like you said, you can't take them out. And I've had clients who, one woman, she gained 30 pounds, and in that time that she had to just wait it out, and she felt horrible. So I always say, if you think you want pellets, then at least start with cream or injection, so you get your dose right. So you know what your dose is going to be, and then they can apply that to the pellets, and then you can try it out. Some women do. They really like it. It's very easy. It's convenient. You put it in, you don't have to think about it for 3 months, but you will get sky high, and then you will get drops. And some people can handle that, but a lot of people can't. I've had women say that was horrible, horrible feeling and experience.
It doesn't make sense. Like Amie said, it's too volatile to, like, why would you even venture into that if that's the risk? Like, that's how I look at it. I'm like, F that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway.
100%.
All right, Amie, your turn. And then also, if anyone wants to touch on any of the symptoms that I mentioned, or anything that I just talked about with my personal experience, please do. But those are...
Yeah, I want to circle back to testosterone, the vagina, sex drive and stuff. But Amie, let's hear from you first.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I always celebrated my period. Really, like every month, kind of moving into being 47, 48, even a little bit 49-ish in the beginning. I was like, every time it came, yes, I still got it. Yes, it's still here. And then it stopped like that's it. It just stopped. I didn't have I spotted a little bit, and I got it this month, and then not the next month. It just stopped. And I was like, what the hell? And just like you said, you kind of become attached to it. And in my mind, I attach that to youth. that having your cycle is youthful. And there are some people that argue that. So I started on just static dosing. So here comes in the progesterone, here comes in the estradiol, here comes in the testosterone. And I was on testosterone before. So I did start the testosterone first, then the progesterone, then the estradiol. And I can say, honestly, not having a period, I don't like it. So I finally gave in a couple of months ago and I said, all right, I'm going to try rhythmic dosing. Let's just see what happens, because I was talking to a woman who really inspired me. And I know there's two, thought processes on rhythmic dosing versus static dosing, but this woman told me her story. She had MS. She had the MRIs and the brain scans that showed MS. She was walking with a cane. She was losing her ability to walk. She actually knew T.S. Wiley, met her, talked to her. T.S. Wiley, she's trying to talk her into doing the Wiley protocol, which is rhythmic dosing. And it's basically dosing your hormones in a way to bring on your cycle. We're trying to mimic what your hormones were doing in your 30s, maybe not your 20s, but at least in your 30s. And she poo-pooed this left and right. Finally, one day she gives in. She starts on rhythmic dosing. Pain is gone. She goes back in for an MRI. There are no lesions. There's no signs of MS. Her doctor can't even freaking figure it out. He's like, what are you doing differently? She goes, I'm hormones, like hormones. So hormones give us life. And just like we said in the beginning, you're not going to avoid hormonal decline. There is nothing you can do. There's no biohack. There's no supplement to avoid hormonal decline. It's going to happen. It's just what you choose to do with it. And when you think about hormones literally giving you life back, whether you do, it doesn't matter what kind of dosing you do. You can do static, you can do rhythmic. It doesn't matter. Just get those hormones in your body to supplement the hormones that are no longer being properly produced. So I would say my symptoms, if I look back, just like Elle said, I should have started testosterone earlier, because I used to compete even in my 30s, early 40s. I struggled with muscle. I was always like, I was never blessed with those nice little cap shoulders and that six pack. And I mean, I would bust my ass at the gym trying to put on an itty bitty amount of muscle mass in my shoulders, and it just wouldn't happen. I think looking back, I was low in testosterone even back then, and no one was checking it because I had PCOS. So they always assumed that I had elevated androgens. Nobody checked it. So I would say looking back, I would have, and we don't check it on ourselves because we are our own worst patient. So looking back, I wish I would have started testosterone earlier, because now that I'm on it, now I go to the gym and I'm like, yeah, there's the striations. There's the pump in the biceps that I like to see. And by no means do I look like a bodybuilder, but just that nice, shape that you get, the strength, you just feel good.
Libido. And isn't your SHBG also elevated because you're on thyroid hormone? Yeah. So
yeah, my SHBG is elevated.
All tied up.
Right.
Question: how much testosterone do you take daily?
I do 10 to 20 milligrams of testosterone cypionate injectable, and I do it sub-Q.
So how would that equate to cream? Because see, that it wouldn't, like, no one would take 10 milligrams of cream, or now you're into like.
No,
you want more cream.
Yeah,
you want a higher dose of cream.
20 milligrams a day of cream, because it doesn't absorb as well as injections.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Are we talking about the compounded testosterone cream? Because when I'm talking with other women, even who are past menopause, they're talking 1 to 4 milligrams.
Yes, which is the most common dosing.
Right.
So
the is doctor injectable different or
super low?
Amie and I, both work with regenerative sports medicine, Dr. Rand McLean and Todd Keelman, and they've been doing testosterone therapy forever. And he was on my podcast. I can link to that in the show notes, but he was on the podcast and he said that he finds that he's got to start women at 20 milligrams if their testosterone's low. They're choosing, a day, if they're choosing to do cream. He says if they're choosing to do injection, then it's what Amy's saying, like that between 10 to 20 a week, like a week. One injection a week of testosterone cypionate.
So you're doing one a week of 10 milligrams, roughly, you said, Amie, and that's once a week. I got it. You're not.
Yeah, and I'll go up and down. if I'm feeling like kind of weaker, if I'm not getting that pump or something's high, you can feel it out. You can feel if you need more. And then maybe if I start to break out, I'll dial it back. I'll just do 10 a week. But no, in my patients, when I look at the women that try a cream, because a lot of them are like, I don't want a needle, I don't want an injectable, they'll try a cream. And I have seen testosterone move literally like 3 points in 3 months on a cream, because you have so many variables. You have, what did the compounding pharmacy use as a base? How are they applying it? Are they actually rubbing it in? Are they putting it in the right area? What's the thickness of their skin? So there's so many different variables when it comes to cream that I mean, once in a while you can get a woman that responds really well. I also have someone else that went all the way to a 125 total with her testosterone with cream. Okay, fine. Then she's doing it right. And that cream jives with her body and she's feeling the effects of it. But I would say most of the time we have to go the injectable route just to get that number where it should be into the optimal range.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's what I do for testosterone. I do cream for progesterone and estradiol now that I'm on the Wiley protocol. And it's not that hard. I apply it in the morning. I apply it in the evening. I have a little app that gives me the dosing for each day. It's super easy. I would say to be determined on the overall result. I have not restarted my cycle yet, but it usually takes about 3 months to do that. And yeah, I feel good. I feel just good. The symptoms, I didn't have the feeling like my pussy was weak at all. But I would say now that you bring it up, and this can go all the way back to my powerlifting days. This is a little known fact about Amie. I had to wear a pad when I would deadlift because every freaking time I'd pull that weight off the ground, I would pee and I would leave a decent, nice little puddle down there. And now I can deadlift. And I mean, not the same amount of weight that I used to, but I can deadlift and not piss my pants. So there is something to
the strength of the pelvic floor.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. There's something to that. So I would say, libido's fine. Vaginal dryness, definitely better. So that did start to happen. And I was like, oh no,
same.
Here I am, an old lady. My vajayjay is drying up and I'm going to have to break out the lube every time I have sex.
Yeah.
Now I don't have to.
Great.
Now I don't have to. So I love hormones. They're just beautiful. They're just beautiful.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I really couldn't live
and a
without
variety
them.
of them have saved all of our lives. So from thyroid hormone that's currently saving all of our lives to bioidentical hormone replacement for aging. And by the way, so I have a Healthy Half Being Hot. Elizabeth Resnick's a health coach. She's a double certified health coach. You might have seen her on Instagram. She's just gone through menopause doing absolutely nothing. And she has sworn by eating a raw carrot a day for years for what it does to estrogen or whatever. Like she's like some fiber that, anyway, she swears by it and she's been able to go through it. But again, I wonder, when are you going to hit? Because you're going to hit something at some point, unless you're okay with it. It would be very rare to hear of a woman who has vaginal wetness and libido and all of the things. I want to say what else I felt about testosterone. I've never breastfed, but I had pancakey flat boobies. And suddenly I feel like they were like teenager, a little bit more. I felt like skin and everything was a little bit more, after doing testosterone and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that'll happen because testosterone will do that, but it'll convert some to estrogen, right? Testosterone will convert down to estradiol. And that is like the most amazing hormone for skin and elasticity and collagen production and joint health and vagina health and muscle health. And I mean, the list goes on. And, women that say, oh, I'm going to do it naturally. I'm not going to take anything. It is similar to saying like to the diabetic or to the thyroid patient, don't take thyroid medication. Like it's because it's not natural. It's just, it doesn't really make any sense. Or telling a person that's in their 70s who's got heart disease, is that person going to say no to the surgery that could save his life or to make him feel better, him? Yep. They're not going to go, no, this is part of aging, my heart disease. So I'm not going to I'm not going to take medication for it. I'm not going to take surgery for it. I just want to do this naturally. When a lot of these problems, these health problems, are because of the loss of hormones. So why not just give the body back what it's looking for and what it needs? And people that maybe don't have any of the hot flashes or weight gain, and they're like, oh, I just eat the carrot a day. Well, what's going on the inside to your organs? I mean, we have estrogen receptors on every single organ. So what's going on with your brain, your heart. We know from the research that replacing estrogen and testosterone is really crucial for heart. And it helps to prevent heart disease, which is the number one killer. So,
Yep. And that's why hormones are being poo-pooed in conventional medicine. I mean, that's why the conventional medicine doctors still are on that Women's Health Initiative study of hormones are bad for you and they cause cancer. And we've all debunked that one 10 times over. But now we're kind of entering a season of the DEA trying to make testosterone almost damn impossible to get. And my argument forever has been classification of testosterone as like a Schedule C drug in the same category as opioids. They're trying to keep something from you that will keep you off of the medications, the statins, the blood pressure medications, the antidepressants, the sleeping pills, because that's big pharma right there. And I know I'm going down a whole different rabbit hole, but you have to understand, everyone has to understand that bioidentical hormones are life-saving. They will prevent, like Karen said, heart disease, cardiovascular disease, the biggest killers of women and men for that matter. When men have low testosterone, they are at a greater risk of cardiovascular disease. So all of these hormones that keep us young and that stave off disease also keep us off the meds. Yeah. And, you know, when you start piecing that together, you really start to think, wait a minute, maybe these hormones are good for me because Big Pharma is telling me that they're not.
Well, also, it's misogyny in medicine because I have to go to a compounding pharmacy to get my testosterone when every other freaking guy in the world can go right down to the CVS because it's right there on the shelf in the back. Yeah. That's bullshit.
That's bullshit.
Absolute bullshit that's the case. So, you know, classic, right? And yes, of course, you know, it's like, I tell the story, I you know how maybe many women listening and you guys have had it. Have you ever had your pH balance just be off in your vagina somehow? Like it's not an infection or anything. It's like too much soap or something happened and it's weird. Sometimes it happens when people have sex with someone, but it happened to me just out of nowhere. And I went to the gynecologist and they, cause I was like, hey, they took a Paxman. They go, oh my gosh, you have this thing. You have to take this antibiotic. You know, your vagina could explode. This is dangerous. This could, I'm like, they're scaring me. Yeah. And I looked at this antibiotic. It's horrible, like horrible symptoms. I'm freaking out. So then I called Dr. Forsman and he goes, oh my God, no, listen, you don't take that. Go to the compounding pharmacy. I'll do, what was it? Boric acid and pills. You shove them up there for a couple of weeks and you'll be fine to go. And it was $40 versus $100. And those freaking female gynecologists made me sound like I was going to die. I was in dire danger if I didn't take this antibiotic and blah, blah, blah. And it turns out just shoving something up there pretty natural, just fix this simple thing, you know? And so you guys, you know, when you got to go look elsewhere. And I'm really glad that I called them versus just like taking that conventional advice. I just didn't know there was another answer at that moment, you know, because they're scaring the crap out of me. Right. And so, you know, these things, this is going to happen too with these doctors that are like, you have to take this statin. And on that note, and I know we're not talking about that, but everybody listening should know you should never take a statin unless you get a CAD screening. And that CAD screening, if it's 0, you're fine. Okay. And you don't need a statin. So don't let someone prescribe you a statin based on their ill-perceived notions of how to read your lipid panel. Old-timey lipid panel reading. Make sure you get a CAD score. So anyway, that's
good call. Yeah.
And you might just need thyroid and testosterone.
Exactly. Or estrogen.
Yeah.
Because I will see women's like very, very common for cholesterol to go up, blood sugar to go up, thyroid to go down as you're going through perimenopause and menopause. Extremely common. And people are like, they're super, super healthy. They've been exercising and eating clean. And they're like, what? Why suddenly is my blood sugar going up and my cholesterol going up? I haven't changed anything. And it's like hormonal loss. That's what's going on. So, and we know that thyroid has so much to do with both of those things as well. And it's very common for it to go down in menopause. So I think so I can't tell you how many women I look at on their labs and you can see their thyroid is not out of range, but at the very bottom of the range all the time.
Which is, it might as well be below the range if you're at the bottom of the range. There's no real difference there.
Yep.
No, exactly. And then as we head into perimenopause and menopause, progesterone is the first to drop along with testosterone. So these women become estrogen dominant just because of that imbalance of progesterone and estrogen. And that estrogen dominance then crushes their thyroid, pushes up reverse T3. So then we see this whole interplay as they're entering perimenopause when the hormones are changing. And it does, I mean, even if they didn't really have a thyroid problem before, let's say it's not even Hashimoto's, now they do have a thyroid problem because the reverse T3 is high, a free T3 is low because of that estrogen dominant state because they don't have enough progesterone.
And cortisol issues that are affected by all of that stuff. So now the cortisol is going to drive reverse T3 possibly, or not let you get the stuff you're taking, get into where it needs to go. So yeah, it's like a two-part thing. As you're aging through perimenopause, get the female hormone stuff figured out because more problems will be headed your way. And now you got to solve all of them at the same time. Be nice to ease into it. I guess that's the idea. If we could go back in time, right? You know?
Yeah. Now, women tend to have a real issue with going through perimenopause, right? Their hormones are starting to change. They're feeling different. A lot of women, like 80% of women, will gain weight. And you can be the most fittest, healthiest person in the whole world, and you can gain 20 pounds in perimenopause.
Yep.
And it's super, super frustrating. But if you can, manage all of this, you can get your hormones checked, you can, start replacing your hormones in a timely fashion. And everybody's different, by the way. Some people will do better on rhythmic hormone dosing. Some do better on static. Some do, but like, you really have to find what's going to work for you. So if it hasn't worked with what you've been doing, please keep looking because there's many ways to replace hormones. And some people I have seen flourish on the Wiley protocol or the physiologic restoration protocol. Like that's what they needed. They needed super higher doses in a rhythmic fashion. And that's where they feel their best. And then I've had women that need tiny, tiny little bits of static dosing, and that's all they can tolerate. So don't give up. Find what's going to work for you. So let's say
it's interesting. Well, sorry, Karen, I don't mean to interrupt you. I think it's interesting that we're all on a different protocol and we're all doing well. So that just speaks to how individualized it is to really find your jam, find what's going to work for you because we're all thriving.
Yes.
It's good.
Yes.
And maybe we just, everyone, if you're in your early 40s and you're like, I'm starting to, but I don't know. Again, maybe a little tiny DHA and pregnenolone is the first move. Then maybe you just see how that goes. And then the second move might be, do I need a little tiny, like my progesterone cream? I only take it at night for day 13 through 28. And I still just take a quarter teaspoon, which is just like the lowest dose of that because anything else for me is not good. So again, it's not that I'm, opposed to racing it if I need to, but you can just start at the minimum effective dose of everything, and even start with over-the-counter DHEA and pregnenolone. It's cheap, it's easy, you can get it anywhere.
Yes, and those are precursor hormones, so those hormones make other hormones, so that can be a great starting point. DHEA is great for vagina health, so you can even get serum that you put right on the labia, and that can really, really help with that. So, yes, many options.
By the way, I did make a mistake. So my who was it? Someone said, oh, you can take testosterone cream and like, you can put it, like rub it on your, privates. And I was like, okay, well, so I was thinking, I was like, oh, is that going to like do some amazing sensory something like that I haven't experienced? That's great. And then they're like, oh no, it's just a place you could put it. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not putting cream all up in there. I mean, but I know some people do it internally, but I just choose to still do it on my skin. But I remember thinking, like, so I tried it once thinking that it was going to create.
I have heard that it does, Elle.
I tried it and I was like, yeah, no, this didn't. All right. Well, okay. And then it just was like, all right, everything was cream.
I use my testosterone cream before I have sex every time. And I inject it right up inside. Because I do find it makes me a lot, more lubricated. I don't mind sharing that with my husband, right? Like it's testosterone, so he can handle that. It's not estrogen, so it's good for him. And I find it does enhance the orgasm and the pleasure. And I have read, like, if you put it on your clitoris before sex, that it can enhance the orgasm. I have read that. So
it didn't for me, but I tried it. So that's a biohack you can try. And like maybe people, and I do know people do obviously, yes, there's also lots of deliveries for these hormones, right? And so if people also are really suffering with the sex stuff, then yeah, some of that stuff's up there. But yeah, I didn't notice it. So then I was like, well, just keep doing it the old way.
But wait, Karen, you always talk about a clitoris, which I absolutely love that term, and I have used it over and over again now. You should trademark it. Didn't you say in one of your podcasts that if you do put testosterone cream on your labia, it is growth. Like you can possibly get a clitoris.
No, I've heard that you can grow hair where you put it.
Okay.
Not
I've also heard of the clitoris too. I don't want one.
The clitoris is if you're just your levels inside get high enough. But people will put it on their labia because they can, where they've put it, like let's say they're putting it on their arm or their chest, they will get hairs. They'll get hairs. And so putting it on the labia, they find, works a little bit better, or putting it inside the vagina. Okay. It can be really great for bladder control and uterine strength as well. So putting it right up inside can be beneficial for some women. So don't rule it out.
I was just saying, I think when I proposed that to the doctor and I said, hey, you told me I could put this on my clitoris, but I didn't. He goes, well, that's usually for people who are struggling with the sex stuff. If you already have a high sex drive, then you probably don't need to put it there. And he goes, and it could take time. It's not like you do it once and then like, oh my God, I've had this amazing, like, that's kind of what I thought. I'm like, oh, is this some like cool hack for some like amazing section I'm going to experience I haven't before? And it wasn't. So so you're right. Like, so especially then it would be applied there if you were someone who was struggling with that to begin with. And he said that could just take a minute too, but that's where you would put it. Yeah. So, but I just didn't have that struggle. I thought it was an extra bonus, but it wasn't.
I found it to be an extra bonus. So there you go. So that's like kind of like a lot of the physical stuff, but I want to talk about the mental stuff because I feel like that is such a huge piece of this time in our life where women are being told everywhere they look, do not age. Like whatever you do not age, and do everything to your body and to your face and whatever else. And God forbid you get any wrinkles or gain any weight. And we have to change this narrative. We have to. I want my daughter to grow up to be in a world where women are looked at with respect and, they are still worthy. And because they're getting older, we should be putting them on a pedestal, not going, oh my gosh, how dare you get older? Like my mom, for instance, well, hopefully she won't listen to this, or maybe it's okay. She can listen to it. I have totally noticed that she doesn't value herself anymore. Like she's just written off any idea of having a boyfriend because she's just like, well, what man's going to want a 69-year-old woman? Like literally, that's what she thinks. And she's a really good looking woman. Like she is. She's beautiful. She's taken really good care of herself. She's a fantastic person. And I'm like, how sad is that that's what you believe? That you are no longer worthy and you don't deserve to find love or find a man because no man's going to look at you? That's ridiculous. What a limiting belief. So how have you guys, have you felt those things? Have you felt like, oh no, I'm getting old? Amie, what about, how have you felt?
Yeah. So I can speak from a very young age, and I don't even know where this came in because my mom never took hormones. She wrinkled, she aged, she did all the things just like we normally see society and women do. Something clicked in me at a very young age that I didn't want to age. I always joked that I would never have a 401k or retirement fund. I would have a plastic surgery fund. Like, I mean, even in my 20s, I'm like, I am not aging. I'm going the route of like Sophia Loren or something like that. Like all these women that you see in their 60s and 70s that they don't look fake. Like I'm not talking about like Madonna and how she looks right now, but just that beautiful, just glowing, there might be a couple wrinkles, but man, they're stacked. They still got it. They got it going on. They're gorgeous, right? They didn't embrace aging and just say, I'm just going to throw in the towel and whatever happens. No, they're doing something, probably hormones. So I think it's that fine line. I will say that, obviously we can bring in, social media and just, I mean, my God, even when we were young, Cosmo magazine starts really messing with your head about the perfect woman ideal. Yes, there is that pressure. There is that societal pressure, but I also think you can find that balance of, I don't have to throw in the towel. I can do Botox and I can do fillers and I can take care of my skin and I'll do plastic surgery if I have to, because it's for me. It's not for anyone else. It's for me and how I feel when I'm in front of the camera, when I look in the mirror or wherever I go. And it's about that self-confidence inside. So I think that you can find your path of aging that works for you and that you want to go down. But at the same time, don't be pressured by what you see in society or magazines or even TV. I mean, newsflash, they can Photoshop movies. What you see is not how those people look. They were Photoshopping a long time ago. They can do magic right now. So don't compare yourself to that. Compare yourself to you and what you want to be as you age and how you want to feel and what you want to see in the mirror. And don't let anybody else's judgments one way or the other influence you. Don't listen to the people that say you're vain if you do Botox or surgery or get that filler. No, that's their problem. Also, don't listen to the people that say, you have to age gracefully and throw in the towel and wrinkle. Like, find your path. Find your path of aging. And my path is going to be to fight it with everything that I can do. But I'm not going to look like a freak. I'm not going to go overboard. I'm going to feel really freaking good about myself for as long as I possibly can, hopefully till the day I die, because hormones are going to be involved and whatever else needs to be involved will be involved.
Yeah, I love it. I agree wholeheartedly with everything that you said. I do it for me. I don't know what the hell there's like guys out there like, I don't know why women do Botox. You guys are doing it for other women or for your dressing. No, I do it because I like the way I look in the mirror, that I don't have crow's feet out to here. Now, if you do, that's fine. And you want to accept and love and embrace your crow's feet, that's great. Here's the other thing too. You know how, and we all use them, like, even on Zoom right now, there's probably like a little filter that kind of like just makes us a little good. We're on Instagram. Softer. I'm using some of these interesting, cool filters. Is it because I'm not confident? No, I'm confident as fuck. It's because I know it's going to be nicer for you to look at it that way too, instead of focusing on the little things that are going on in my skin that would be without the filter, let's say. It's not because I'm embarrassed of that. People see me in person all the time. It's just like, it looks better. It's just more fun for more. Does anyone watch TV with a bunch? Look at everyone on TV, guys. Every newscaster's got their face entire fucking Botox. There's not one of them that don't. Not even one guy that doesn't. Look at I'm living in the town of I'm in Los Angeles and Hollywood, and this is what we call them when we see someone that's gotten really horrible, out of control plastic surgery. Our code word is BHSP, and that stands for Beverly Hills Science Project. So I'm never going to look like a fucking science project if I can help it. Like, unfortunately, Madonna has become a little bit. And we love her, right? But damn, she fucked up her face. So that can happen. So there's just certain levels to it. I feel like also don't rip on the people who, they do look maybe overly done or whatever, but that's them. And if they're happy with themselves and the person who they're with loves them for that, then that's fine. Mm-hmm. I just know I'm more like Amie and Karen, where I'm probably going to take the more subtle route and the more natural look and do my best because, sometimes, at least I've noticed in this town, when people overdo it, they look older. It actually, right? Look at Madonna. She looks older because she did that versus aging in a way. So there's a fine line between this stuff. I only currently just do Botox. I'm not opposed for anything else. I agree with Amie. I always thought, fuck 401k. I'm going to have a beauty, fun. I see. So because I'm in LA, I live right in the mountains above Malibu. I see a lot of celebrities a lot of the time. You don't think they're all doing this? Look, I see Cindy Crawford all the time. By the way, she looks amazing. Okay. In person, it's out of control. She really looks amazing. That doesn't mean she doesn't have a few things going on, right? But she's doing what we're doing. She's doing it. She was a model and we were never a model. So she's got a longevity there of kind of, in her own skincare routine. But she's a perfect example. And I think she's almost 60 now. And she looks natural with the way she has aged, even though clearly she has used things because there's no way she would look like that without it. What I find is interesting is these people who, and again, no shame about it. They're out there and they're like, I love all my wrinkles and everything, and I'm aging gracefully. That's fine. But also, if that's a passive aggressive slight to the rest of us who aren't, I don't know, man. And are you happy looking at yourself? That's great. Because when I look at your face, I'd be horrified if I woke up every morning and saw that. And that sounds really awful. That's personal. That's me. If my face was that wrinkled, I would be horrified. And if I hadn't done Botox for the past, I'm 49, I think I started at 35. If I have not been doing it all that long, I guarantee you right now, I'd have deep lines all over the place. There's nothing wrong with that if you want to embrace it and love it. But don't be ripping on us for being fake, for wanting to look good and hot. And I mean, look, I did Botox during the pandemic. I didn't see anybody but myself. I just wanted it for me.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Keep up with that. Yeah.
The first time I risked getting COVID, the only time during the pandemic was because I went to go to a medical center to get the Botox, because I was like, I don't care. I'm risking COVID on this one. Like I love it. And also it helps me with headaches. I get tension headaches here. That number 11 that comes up in between the brow.
The bitch ditch.
Oh man, yeah, it's like resting bitch face. People would be like, "Are you upset? Are you okay? Are you angry?" This is when the number 11 started to develop. My face, we do so much stuff. We're reading, we're researching, we're looking at camera. Like, I don't get tension headaches. At the end of the day, I'm not sitting there rubbing my forehead. So there are so many great uses for it. I know guys that get it who don't care about vanity, that do it for the tension headache right there in the middle of the brow. So, I mean, it just has a nice effect that they don't have the number 11. So anyway, I could go on all day about it, but there's kind of like two sides. It's like, oh, you're fake and using filters. And then the other is like, hey, look, unless you're a bodybuilder trying to show you're photoshopping your body and you're pretending to be someone you're not, do whatever the hell you want. You want to use filters I don't care. I don't look at it as fake. It's just actually more pleasant to watch, to be honest with you. I don't know what you guys think about all that, but like,
well, I think there has to come a time where it's like we can only do so much Botox. Do you know what I mean? We can only do so many facelifts.
Retin-A, yeah.
And you're still going to age no matter. And so I think, like I do Botox, I just get it in my forehead. I don't care. I like my crow's feet. So I let those go for it, and I know that it's just going to continue. Right. And there's only so much Botox that's going to fix that. And I'm really trying to embrace that, knowing that no matter what, I'm going to get older. Like this isn't stopping. And I need to see that that's okay, which has been tough for me. Like I'm 100% being honest here. I was always really an attractive person. I could attract any man I wanted. I was, thought of as a beautiful woman. And so I'm realized the other day, I was like, I never get hit on anymore. And that was like a little blow to the ego. It was like,
I'm with you on this. Yep. I saw a change there too. And I'm sure we all have. I saw a change there too. The difference between now, sometimes if I have my hair is pretty big and if I have it curly, then it just draws attention naturally. Okay. So like people are going to just be drawn to that. But yes, Karen, I have had that experience too. And there's that moment where you're like, I'm not getting looked at anymore. I'm not getting looked at or no one's carding me. Or like, what? Or like, yeah.
Or I'll see a good looking guy and I'll be like, my usual, like, look at him. Oh, cute. And then I'm like, oh my God, he's not looking at me. Like, he's not going to. I'm almost 50, 30. Yeah. He's 30. He's not going to look at me.
Yep.
And so that was tough. That was tough.
Being with a partner, like you have a husband, like who loves you, like being with someone who's like, I of course would never get in a relationship with someone who would expect this of me or who would. So yes, I mean, listen, there are women dating men who they want you to dress a certain way, but like I know my guys are going to be down to earth and not even care about that. Do you know what I mean? Like they just don't care. So you obviously have to find someone. And I think too, it is self-esteem and confidence on the inside. But like Amie said, sometimes Botox, not having crow's feet or not having a line in your forehead, the way you look at yourself in the mirror makes you feel, it just gives you some self-confidence and self-esteem that, so it actually can help you increase that, I think, a little bit, depending if you want to dip your toe there.
Yeah. And I find like, I always remind myself, what do I think is attractive in an aging woman? If I see an older woman, do I think like, oh, look at her, she's old, she's got wrinkles? No, what I think is, are you healthy or not? Because that to me is what's attractive in an older woman. If I see an older woman, whether she's my age or 50s or 60s, 70s, if she's healthy and you can see, like she even might have some pounds on her, but she's got good skin, she's got healthy hair. You can tell that she takes care of herself and she eats well. That's really obvious to me. And it's like, that's attractive to me. those women are, I think they're beautiful. And I'm like, yeah, with your long gray hair and, your wrinkles, and you look amazing because you can tell that you're healthy and you're vibrant.
Happy.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen that show? It was an old show called like Hot in Cleveland. Do you remember the premise of the show? These women move from LA where all the beauty stuff, and then they go to Cleveland. They're like, oh my God, we are like fucking hot in Cleveland. Right? Like it's a thing. It's a total thing because I know it too. Like I'll go to another city and I'll be like, oh my God, I'm getting all these sort of looks from everyone because I live in the land of beauty pageantry and, models and all that stuff. Right. So I think it's even tougher when you're in this area, arena, but I'm not pressured to do it because I'm not out there like acting every day and doing that kind of stuff where I feel pressured anymore about that kind of thing. But here's the thing. It is motivating because my friends will come out here from Chicago or other places and they'll be like, the older people look amazing out here. I'm like, yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. It's kind of an incentive in a way because, it's not like you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, but you see that it's possible around you because everyone's a Carrie Sisson and a Mark Sisson. Like a lot of them are. And so you're really you're the man out if you're schlumpy and you're not fit and stuff because people here really age well because they're active and they care about this kind of stuff. So it's kind of inspiring in that way. And it's also a little bit like, sometimes you're like, maybe I should just move to Arkansas for a minute in a small town and then just be like, but again, I'm not trying to like get guys, I'm not in this like kind of vibe of the youth of trying to like play that game. So I don't care, but it is kind of funny, especially being here because you're looking at a lot of beauty constantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I keep hearing from women that are in their 50s and we all haven't crested that yet. But I keep hearing that once you hit that 50, you stop giving a fuck. Like your fuck bucks are done and you just really don't care anymore what people think. So I'm kind of, I can feel that shift happening. I can, because I hear what you're saying, Karen, because you're right. Like I used to get hit on all the time. And then my husband's like, okay, who hit on you? I go to a conference. Who hit on you? I'm like, nobody. Yeah, right. I'm like, no, really, nobody. Unfortunately, I would like to report back that I was hit on, but I wasn't. So it is kind of, I can feel that shift happening of not giving a fuck anymore. But I'm really looking forward to truly moving into that. But I know that I will always care about me. And I like kind of spinning off of where you are, Elle, in LA, in the land of beauty, go to a health conference. I just got back from KetoCon. I was with all these health related people, health entrepreneurs. And I was sitting there talking to Susan Bratton. She's actually going to be on my podcast soon.
She's great.
And she is like a sex expert. Yeah. She is this gorgeous.
Yeah, she really
blonde, is. Fit. Oh my God. Drop dead.
Just lost a bunch of weight. She got even fitter in the past year. She did a whole thing. I think she lost 20 pounds and she's voluptuous yet fit. And what is she, 65 or?
62. I had to ask her. I'm like, wait a minute. So how old are you? She's like 62. I'm like, girl. I'm like, okay. So looking at those people, that's who I look to. That gives me hope and inspiration to go, all right, if she can do that, I can do that. So I like being around those people that maybe are older than me and are built like a brick shit house and are gorgeous because it's like, that's what I want to strive to. Yes. That's what I want to strive for and to be.
Yeah. And we're not going, oh, look at that woman with all done up and her face is filled and she's got big, huge lips and tons of Botox and fake breasts and implants and liposuction and dressed in super nice clothes. I'm not going like, oh, that's what I want to look like. And that is so beautiful aging. No, I'm looking at the ones that are, like I said, healthy. Right. Sure, they might have had Botox and tummy tucks and all that jazz, but that's not what I'm attracted to. I'm attracted to the health of that person, their happiness, if they're glowing or not, they have healthy skin, healthy hair. Like that to me is what's attractive in a person that's aging. And I think that we really have to focus on that because the outward of us is going to age no matter what we do to ourselves, no matter how many facelifts. So if you can focus on, I'm just going to, make sure that I eat nutrient dense foods, low inflammatory foods so that my skin is nice. Like I know for a fact that because I'm paleo, I have fantastic skin. fantastic. I see other people that eat a lot, like veganism, a lot of
No, but
vegans,
it's so bad.
unfortunately, but it's inflammatory. Those foods are inflammatory and you can see it, and they age faster and they get so many more wrinkles, it seems like. And maybe that's generalizing. I'm sorry if it is, but I just find that going paleo, it just did absolute wonders for my skin. And I see other people that aren't paleo and they just look a little more inflamed, possibly more wrinkles, and maybe they're also drinking and eating more sugar and all of those things. Like, you, as a woman, you guys, like, you really, the drinking especially, you got to be so careful. All of these things are inflammatory, which means inflammatory to your face. So if you're eating a ton of grains, whether you're vegan or not, if you're eating a ton of grains, beans, sugar, alcohol, guess what? Your skin's going to show that.
Haven't you? I mean, look, this is I always say, because I've never been a drinker, and I think part of the reason I have good skin and have aged well is because I'm not a big drinker. I mean, we're talking like rare. I mean, it's not, like, I don't know, I had a drink like a year ago, or I have a sip. I mean, I really don't drink.
Same. Yeah.
Alcohol is a horrible ager for women. You can see them walking down the street. They've got that ruddy complexion. They're top heavy. Dude, it's a classic.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying,
Puffy.
Amy? Like, yeah, puffy, blood ruddy. And then again, I just want to say what it does to people's attitudes and shit. Like, you drink over time, it's like compounded interest on being just a bitter pain in the ass downer. It's a depressant, and whether you think it is or not, over time, unless you are the person that's exercising every day and just having your drink or two and whatever. But if you're not, it's going to catch up with you. So I think one of the biggest agers is drinking. That being said, I love marijuana. I have for years. I've always been a marijuana consumer. I drove all the drunk people home. Nowadays, I live in a state where, you can get it in a variety of delivery systems. So you don't have to smoke it. So you don't have to light it up. Thank God for that. I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying, I've never met a successful drunk, and I've also never met a successful drunk billionaire. And I've also never met anyone who's been a consistent drinker as a woman, heavy drinker, like a nightly dealio, and they've just aged. I've never seen them age well. I've never seen one age well. It's just so bad. You know what I'm talking about? It's that top heavy, weird.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. It is a poison. It is a poison. Andrew Huberman did a great 2-hour long podcast on the effects of alcohol in the body. And I recommend everyone listen to that. Listen to our podcast first and then listen to that one. But it really is interesting that when he breaks it down and you listen to it, it's like, that's why you get a buzz, because it's a poison to your body. So when you really think about that, I mean, it is, and I try to explain it to my patients too, when we're talking about alcohol, I go, there's proteins, there's carbs, there's fats, and then there's alcohol. It doesn't fall into one of those 3 macronutrient categories. It is literally a poisonous substance that your body has to figure out what the fuck to do with it. Like, what do I do with this? So I guess, I'll store it. I'll break down some cells. I'll do whatever, but it's not good. There's no good effects from it. And that whole resveratrol red wine thing, please throw it out.
Yeah.
Just throw it out.
You'd have to drink gallons and gallons of wine in order to even get that is the bullshit. You know what it is? This is all excuses for everyone to justify their drinking. It is. I'm sorry. I've been, it just is. It's like, oh, well, but it's healthy for you. It's just, and yes, I know the studies, but the studies, I mean, look, alcohol is so pervasive. It's no different than big pharma. It's like the studies on grains being wonderful for your gut, come on, that's by the grain lobbies and the food pyramid. So, the alcohol thing. I think if people can get away from that, and again, I'm not saying choose another vice, but or make better choices. Maybe it's Dry Farms wine. Maybe it's just hard alcohol that's cleaner. Yeah, man, I think that's a really bad ager. Oh, God.
Women will say, they don't want to use hormones. It's going to give them breast cancer if they use estrogen. Well, I will tell you, you have a higher risk of developing breast cancer if you drink than if you use estrogen. Right.
They've always said that. They said it's like 40% chance or something. It's been that for a while, that if you have 2 drinks a day as a woman, you can increase it. I wouldn't be totally shocked. My aunt, we don't have breast cancer in my family, but my aunt, who's maybe 82 now, was a big drinker. She did get a little breast cancer late in life. She caught it quick. It's over with, but she did ask herself, I wonder if it's from, it's kind of the first question we were all like, well, I mean, you're just boozing it up every night for your whole life. It's amazing it caught up to you only at 80. And that's probably because she was extremely active and healthy otherwise. Otherwise, maybe it would have come sooner. And again, we don't know the causation. I'm just saying,
yeah.
She even questioned it.
Yeah. But women do so much to take care of their bodies, especially as they're aging. Like women will go to extreme lengths to take care of themselves, and they'll spend all this money, but God forbid you take away their booze, which is like, that's like one of the biggest things that could help with your aging, but you don't want to give that up. And so you really got to look at that and ask yourself, is this how you want to spend the next half of your life? You know, drinking away your emotions and, you know, being puffy and possibly overweight and having a higher risk of breast cancer and heart disease and liver disease. And the list goes on and on. And I think a lot of women, they say that I interviewed a woman about this actually recently. All around the world, drinking has gone down.
Good.
In most demographics, except for women over the age of 40, it has gone up. Isn't that sad? And this is a time in our life, because your hormones are shifting, you're going to be more prone to depression, more prone to anxiety. It's also a time in our life where there's a massive spiritual shift happening. And women we're not talking about that. This is the time when, you know, you're usually have got the career down, you've chosen your partner, you're either keeping them or or you're getting rid of them at this time. You're done having children. Now's the time for you. And so the spotlight gets turned on you. And it's like our bodies start to have all these symptoms, because it's almost like, hey, pay attention to me finally. You've paid attention to all these other things in your life up until this point. Now things are shifting, they're changing. The spotlight's on you. What do you want to do with your life? What does Karen want? What does Elle want? And that can be very disrupting on the inside for many women. And I see them fight this. And how do they fight? How do they numb those feelings? They drink, because it's not something that they're familiar with. And it's like, no, this is the time for you. What do you want? What do you need to do to take care of yourself for the first time?
I think women don't get a chance. My experience in talking with them, and you've had the kids early and you've done the thing, and maybe you were a mom all that time and now the kids are in college. Oh, you know, that's always the time that they're like, fuck, like, what's my life been about now?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then what I see is people really ambitious at a young age who then are a little bit afraid for going what they want, and they have the child, and then they wait till the child's 18. They're like, oh, finally I can get back to all the stuff I wanted to do then. You're like, you could have done it then. You didn't have to have the baby to distract yourself for 20 years. You could have done it then. So I feel that happens. There's more of a little bit of a midlife crisis there, especially if your whole identity has been like raising children or doing the thing and having a career. And then you get to the point where the house is empty and you're like, you know what I mean? And my gosh. And I think that's with men too. I mean, I have friends that are my age now and they're like, my kids are almost out of college. Like, what's my life about? We are all so lucky. We've been able to follow our passions, but so many people don't. And then I think it hits them even harder at this time. You know, that's when I'd be probably drinking too, because they're like, what am I to do? I'm all, not realizing that there is a whole nother life here. I mean, look, Louise Hay started Hay House at age 60. Right. Wow. She lived till 90 something. And look at the empire that she built. Right. There was that other famous Black woman who started bodybuilding at like 80. Remember that woman? She's like 95 now.
Yes. She looks amazing. Yeah.
Amazing. Like, I mean, I love those people. Or I think all of us here are defining, like, listen, we wouldn't see this when we were younger and people were our age. Like, you know what I mean? Like our mothers were our age. Like we wouldn't, we're more youthful. Anti-aging is like getting so good now. We know so much more about so many things, right? Who knew about gluten back when we were young? Nobody.
Yeah.
Just didn't even think about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No. I just
think we have hormones.
And now we have hormones that are okay to use. They're safe. But yeah, I think that this can be a great time in our life. Like it's not like, oh, we turn 50 and it's over, which I think a lot of people have in their head, like, oh, who am I to society now? I'm not of any value. I don't have children to take care of and to raise anymore. And like, no, this can be the best time. Have you guys found that like you're more yourself than ever before? Like I certainly have myself. I'm way more myself. I feel like I know so much more. I'm wiser. I'm just a better person. Like I love aging for that reason, because I'm just so much more who I really, truly am. And I don't take any crap anymore and all that stuff. So what about you guys?
Well, yeah, you spent your fuck bucks. You spent them all. Now you don't care. But no, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. I am much more myself, and it feels good to be that. Even in business, like imposter syndrome. No, it's just, it's you like me or you don't, like that, whatever. If you don't, go find somebody else to follow. It doesn't matter. Like, honestly, I am who I am. Like, this is what you get. And I will tell people that, like, when you work with me, what you hear on my podcast, what you see is exactly who I am. So don't think I'm going to be somebody else behind the scenes working with you. Like, we're going to be blunt. We're going to talk like sisters. It's going to be real.
Yes.
It is going to be real because I don't care. Yeah.
That's me. Amy just described me.
Yeah, me too.
You know, we are the same that way. I only had that one trip, but before I wrote my second book, Confident as Fuck, I still had an area of my life where I felt ashamed about my hand disability, which Karen, you know, Karen's in my book. You were one of the first people actually who was sort of a stranger that I told I was trying to act with vulnerability and get over that. That area fucked up some confidence in the romantic sector of my life. And so it wasn't really until I got over that I felt like all the fuck bucks were gone. So I think in publishing that book and kind of coming out with that story, kind of sealed the deal on the way up to 50, where now I really don't give a shit. And I have absolutely, I don't care. You could call me the C word to my face. I don't care. You can send me, I just don't. I don't care. I think every adult says this because I remember hearing it. When you get older, you won't care about you won't care. And they're right. They were right. If I could impart more of that earlier, but I think I did get to it maybe a little sooner than 50, just because I was writing and working through the things that I needed to kind of seal up my overall confidence and self-esteem in life, or get rid of all my fuck bucks. But I'm pretty sure they're gone. I really don't. I don't know. I don't really care. It's nice.
No, it's really nice. It's refreshing. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't care so much before. I kind of always had a good attitude, but I think I would be a little bit more worried about like something, or I don't know. I just don't, I'm not anymore. It's kind of like, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think every woman should read Confident as Fuck, because it's just going to boost you. You know, it's going to give you that extra little because I look back at me in my 20s, like Amy in her 20s. And I just want to pet her and be like, you know, you really are beautiful, even though you don't think so. And when you age, you're going to be more confident. It's going to be okay. Because I look back and the amount of care and just, you know, lack of confidence in some areas when I'm like, damn girl, you look good. Why'd you think you were fat back? So yeah, if I could speak to my 20 something, I would definitely tell her, like, it's going to get better. Going to get better.
Hopefully everyone will be more authentic. I mean, I think that's the key, right? Like you just said, I am who I am. I do not change. People hear me on podcasts, everyone else, they know, you know what you're getting. You're not going to get anything different. You know, but I mean, not that we don't have the capacity for true empathy and understanding. We do, because Amy and I and Karen have been through it. It's not like we can't be sweet.
Severe empathy. Like too much empathy, I think.
But when we're, but when
take it all on.
Right. But when we're getting down to business, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to be straight up. I think that authenticity reigns supreme. I talk about that with confidence and self-esteem. The more everybody could just be who the fuck you are, and someone is going to love you for it. I'm not for everybody. Everyone, you know, right? Like you just said, Amy, you know, hey, look, I'm not for everyone. You like it or you don't. I'm not going to try to convince you. Go to someone like when I 17 years ago was looking for a life coach. I interviewed 3 of them, 2 women and 1 guy. Was not expecting the guy would be the one that I chose, to be honest with you. I thought it would be one of the women. And I chose him because he had he was like, get to business, 30 minutes, can lock that up, to the point, no bullshit, call it out. That's my jam. Where the women that I had consultations with were like, so that's lovely. What else in your life? And I was like, oh my God, we gotta, right? So we're not for everybody. Someone's going to want another coach, another type of person. I just think we are who we are. And as long as whoever you are, be it, and be that person. Don't try to be anyone else, because it's going to be found out. You try to be someone else, it's so fucking fake. People are going to be like, who are you trying to be? Just be you. Someone's going to love you for you. I've interviewed how many people over these 8 years? There's some people I've interviewed, and I'm sure you guys have had this, that it's like pulling teeth. You're like, how do they even have a conversation in life? How do they live with themselves? This is oh my God, they have a family. Who puts up with this? Like, boring. but you know what? They got millions of followers. Well, guess what? There's someone for everybody. And I think we've learned that through doing our work. So I would say, go be whoever the hell you are. And even if you don't think you're engaging or you don't think you're good on camera, oh, trust me, girl, you have 1 million followers on YouTube. There's someone for you, you know?
Yeah. It's so true. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Appreciate who you are right now. I think that's so important. Be who you really are right now. This is the time, you guys, to be who you are, because like life is short. It's going to end. You know, we're moving into the second half of our life. And as you know, it really starts to speed up. Like I was like, I feel like I just turned 40. And that was 7 years ago, right? Like it does. As you get older, it gets faster. Yeah. It's like, just like, yeah, the fact that we've known each other for that long is just mind boggling. It's like, how did that much time just pass? My son was asking me on my birthday and he's like, so mom, when you're 50, you said you want to go to Italy. What about when you're 60? And I'm like thinking, oh, that's so far away. And then I'm like, oh, that's 13 years away. That's actually going to go by like that. Like that, the last 13 years just went by so fast. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be 60 years old? Like, that's crazy.
We got to do another roundtable at 60. Let's do 60, a follow-up.
Yes. 100%. Oh, yeah. Something that I just kind of want to leave everybody with is my sister. She's a very wise woman. And she's been, over the years, she just keeps saying to me, we really just have to enjoy where we are right now and how we look right now instead of fighting it, like, yes, fine. We're going to do things to make sure that we stay healthy and stay young looking for as long as we can. That's great. But this is still going to be the youngest you're going to look. Yeah. Like, you are only getting older. So appreciate it, because when I'm 60, guess what? I'll be like, I wish I was looked how I did at 47 in that podcast that I did, that roundtable that I did with Elle and Amie.
True.
Right? So you always have to remind yourself that this is the best it's going to be. And it's like, we are going to continue to age. So appreciate where you're at right now, because you're only going to get older. And that's at every age. It doesn't matter if you're listening to this and you're 80 or you're 90, you still have to appreciate that's how you are right now.
Yep.
And I think that's important.
Love it.
I just want to say one last thing we didn't touch on, and Amy's really like the expert in this one, which is, you think you can get away with not lifting weights, and you can't. You cannot. You cannot. Good luck in your 40s, 50s. It won't work. You can't hike for 5 hours. And I remember Mark Sisson and Brad Kern slamming this, like, Elle, you could hike 5 miles every day. It's not going to do it for you. You have to lift weights.
You do.
And it is harder as you get older. You really need to keep up with this stuff, man. And so that is the one thing that I've realized you cannot escape. And it was escapable before. You could lift weights once a week and kind of get away with that bullshit and have those shoulders, Amie, but you can't do it now. And also the argument of organ reserve, forget how you look, forget the muscles. It's to strengthen the muscles, because then it's going to create a demand on the bones. And then, next thing you know, you break your hip, you can't spew the sputum. Now you get pneumonia and you die because you never challenge your lungs. So part of the exercise and all of that stuff is for organ reserve. And Amie, I just want you to touch a little bit on this, because you are like we're a pro bodybuilder type, and you have a great physique, but I just have seen that it's just like, it's got to be like a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. No, 100%. You have to lift heavy. And I even have a hat back here. Lift heavy shit. LHS, because
I want one.
I will send you one. I will send you both one.
Awesome. Yeah. I love it.
Because as we age, sarcopenia happens. So muscle loss will happen. So that's actually why, number one, you actually have to eat more protein as you get older, not less. So I know everybody, we look at older people and their appetites are down, and, my dad will take half of a sandwich home, and I'm like, just give me that. I'll eat the whole thing. Right. So your appetite's going to go down, but you actually need more protein as you age to keep on that muscle tissue. So that's part one. Part two is lifting heavy. Yes, all the walking in the world, the water aerobics, all of that, it's not going to keep on that muscle mass. And when you lose muscle, that's where bones break. That's where osteoporosis bites you in the ass.
Right.
You know, that is where you become hunched over and brittle. So if you want, and that's where you gain weight because muscle is metabolically active. So when you lift heavy, and I'm not talking, you don't have to be a power lifter. You just have to lift to push yourself to that limit. You know, don't pick up the little 2-pound weights and throw them around. Lift heavy, lift to the point where maybe when you hit a rep of 10 or 12, you're like, oh, damn, I don't think I can do another one. Good. Do that weight. Now go up and do a set of 8 with a heavier weight and push yourself and contract those muscles, because then when you feed the protein on top of it, give your body amino acids, now you have that protection. And even if you don't care how you look, even if you don't want that lean, sexy muscle that gives you the shape, for God's sake, this is about health. This is about longevity. This is about you not being in a nursing home because you fell and broke your hip at the age of 75. You know, it is about long-term health and longevity. So yes, that is probably one of the best things that you can do. Don't just be walking around the block. Actually, my husband called me yesterday. He's at the gym. He's like, these 2 ladies, all they do is walk around the track. And that's all they do is walk. Like, can't they do that at home? I'm like, yeah, they could. But since they're at the gym, they really should get off the fucking track and go into the weight room, pick up something.
You guys, my mom is a victim of this. And I really want to say, so my mother's been healthy her whole life. She's eaten broccoli every freaking night. She took the calcium and magnesium. My mother's never been a smoker, never been a drinker. She looks 10 years younger than her age. No Botox, looks great. However, I'll just do my walk. Now she has osteoporosis. You can't escape it, people, because she never lifted a weight, or maybe she went through 2 weeks of having a personal trainer come over and they lifted thing, and then she whatever, and just was always about, I've got to walk. Amy's right. Get off the fucking treadmill and get in there, because you will have osteoporosis. And you know, I mean, I have great bone density because I've been lifting weights and I was doing that young, but she just wasn't. Look, and a lot of people aren't. They're working. You don't want it, man. And it saddens me because she has done everything right other than the weights and still couldn't escape it.
Yeah.
Don't be a victim to this.
No, I just did a whole podcast about this, because I feel like we talk about this a lot on our podcasts. Like, you got to lift weights, you got to lift heavy, you got to eat protein. And I feel like it just kind of falls on deaf ears now, because it's like, yeah, man, I'll eat my protein. Yeah, I got it. So I went through like the science of why we absolutely have to keep our muscle tissue as we age. And it's, yes, osteoporosis. Muscle is like our biggest processor of glucose in our body. So that insulin resistance that you see every person getting as they age, that will help that. It raises your metabolism. Like, the list goes on and on and on. And you got to replace your testosterone and estrogen, because that's what helps you make muscle. People don't realize that estrogen is also responsible for, almost more so than testosterone, for preserving muscle tissue. That's huge. So you have to have those hormones in order to keep that muscle on and to build it, and for the bone strength. If you don't replace your estrogen, you will develop osteoporosis. That's just the way it goes. So lift heavy, eat, yes, prioritize protein, and we have a much bigger demand for it as we age. So you've got to do it. It's not something to fall on deaf ears and to, oh yeah, I've heard that. You know, it's just another fad. It's not. This is what you got to do. Sorry, but
yeah, great.
Yeah. And it gives you shape too. Like, I think actually, a girl, this is interesting. A woman actually sent me a message after that podcast, and she said, I love your podcast. However, I hate when people say you're not going to get bulky if you lift weights as a woman. She said, that's not true, because I can lift weights and I don't lose the fat. And so I start to look bulky. And I was like, okay. I said, I thank you for telling me that. However, when I say bulky, I'm not meaning fat with a lot of muscle. I'm saying like the women that look like they're men, they're huge, they're bodybuilders, because that's what women have in their head. They think, oh, if I lift heavy, I'm going to look like a big muscle freak. And I think, and I told her this, I said, and I think that if you are a heavier set person, I'm sorry, but I do think putting muscle on makes it look better. Like, yes, you might look a little bit, thicker, but you're going to have more tone and you're going to have more shape And it looks good. To me, it looks good. I think women that are a little heavier set with lots of muscle, I think that looks fantastic. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
100%. Yep. Posture, look, everything.
Yeah.
Posture.
Yeah. And you two are both in incredible shape. I'm getting there.
Oh yeah, the perimenopause
Right back at you.
stuff. Perimenopause had me some weird stuff that before that got the stuff right. You get 10 pounds here and there, and then you just have to go, okay, now we got to get it off and it works. But like,
it's what worked for me. Like that's what finally worked to get my weight down from the menopausal weight gain was I started to lift heavy and started to prioritize protein. I did not cut calories. I did not change my diet except for adding in more protein. And I lost 10 pounds. So there you go. And that's coming from somebody that, does everything and knows everything about weight loss. So
I mean, I think it's like anytime we don't follow what we preach in any kind of way, we're going to, you're going to have a Thanksgiving, you're going to overdo it, but then it's like, you got to get back on track or now we're down a whole road. I just thought I think before I really got the progesterone dialed in, increased testosterone, I felt like I was spinning a wheel a little bit there. But then I also really switched it up recently. I started doing Pilates again for the first time in many years. And I wasn't a big Pilates person before, but I loved it. And I started to do that because, man, I mean, I don't know. I love compounded weightlifting so much, but I also won't take the time to stretch.
Right.
And
yes.
I got to say, I had a foot thing during the pandemic. It looked like there's a bunion happening. What's happening? It's gone after doing Pilates for like a month, probably because of the footwork, the stretching, the stuff. So it's like, I could get away with maybe not doing Pilates or whatever, just stretch and do 2 seconds. But no, so now I'm like, no, I'm going to go force myself to get my shit all stretched out. It's still not going to do enough. You still have to lift the heavy weights because Pilates is not going to be as heavy as what you could do squats with or something necessarily. But yeah, it's a great addition.
I do yoga for that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I'll do yoga once or twice a week and then I lift heavy 3 to 4 times a week.
I feel it's a great addition. Yoga, Pilates, any of that stuff, or just any kind of stretching. If you just have a stretch routine, that's fine. But I notice that I will slack. So then I force myself.
Same. Yeah. I will not stretch actually.
Amie probably doesn't slack on any of the stuff that has to do with working out.
No. I'm human too.
What do you do to stretch? What do you do to...
I do yoga. I do hot yoga. If I do regular yoga, I'll get bored. I'm too type A. So,
me too. It has to be punishment in a sense, right? Like, make me sweat, let it be really hot. Like I love Bikram yoga. We don't have it anymore, but I did love Bikram because it was so like regiment and like hardcore. And it still makes me very much so relax and get into that meditative state. It takes me about half the class. And then it's like, I can relax. And I can't just sit and meditate. It drives me nuts, but I can do it through yoga. So I got to force myself, go to yoga. It forces me into that meditative state and I love it. So that has to be part of my routine for sure.
Yep, exactly. It's all about balance, ladies. Finding the balance.
Yep. Okay, ladies, anything else? Any final parting words for our women?
No, this was awesome. I mean, honestly, I think we covered everything that women need to hear, from we'll say the medical treatment side, the hormone replacement side, all the way to aging and confidence. And I mean, we literally touched on everything. So I think this is almost like the perfect roundtable discussion ever. We can title it that in the podcast. The perfect roundtable. But no, I mean, I really enjoy talking to you all because I know we're all like-minded and we care, we care about the women out there and we care about our clients and we genuinely want every woman, I always say, to be that badass woman that she's meant to be. And it's possible. And I think, knowing that it's possible and imparting that hope into women is really important, that you don't have to throw in the towel. You don't have to just give up because, you turn 40 or 50 or whatever age, 60, and that there are answers, there's help, there's things that you can do to just be your best. Whatever that is, you can be your best.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for joining me for this amazing roundtable. And for all of you that are listening, when you see this clip on our Instagram channels, and don't hesitate to put in the comment section what you struggle with aging. And we'll you can tag us in it and we will comment on what you're struggling with. So we can always do another podcast episode answering the listeners' questions, the biggest struggles of aging. Okay. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, listeners. Over the years, a ton of companies have approached me to collaborate, but I will only promote companies whose products I believe in and that I actually use and consume on a regular basis. So let me tell you about some of my favorite companies that I can offer you discounts for. Rep Provisions, an amazing company doing incredible things for our planet, topsoil, and animals with regenerative agriculture, and it's my #1 source for quality pasture-raised meat and chicken. Visit repprovisions.com and use code L15 for 15% off. I'm also obsessed with a company called Carnivore Crisps. They make a lean, all-natural, and delicious alternative to conventional snacking, made with just real meat and real salt. Totally addictive, and my favorite ones are the beef brisket and the ribeye. Visit carnivorecrisps.com and use code PALEO10 for 10% off. I also love and regularly use Paleo Valley products. They make amazing supplements and delicious paleo products. I use the superfood greens powder, grass-fed beef sticks, the organ complex, and their bone broth bars. I love the lemon and apple. I also use their essential C complex and more. Visit paleovalley.com/promos/Elle Russ for 15% off. I also love Primal Kitchen. They make delicious paleo-approved, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and no refined sugar products, and I use them daily, from their collagen powders and sauces and marinades to their avocado and olive oil. So good, so healthy. Visit primalkitchen.com and use code L10 for 10% off. I also love paleo powder and use it almost on everything I cook. They make incredible seasoning blends, and they also have these incredible grain-free coatings that feel just like crispy breadings that you would have had prior to knowing that there's another way. So visit paleopowder.com and use code L15 for 15% off.